Welcome back to the channel. IKEMS. I want to talk about something that is not, popular in some areas of, in some corners, depending on who you're discussing with. Living on minimum wage. Oh yes, it's important that we talk about it. Let's talk about living on minimum wage. It's important. The reality of living on minimum wage in America. Let's specifically focus on America. Because of how it's priced itself as a capitalist economy. Well, depending on whom you ask. Some persons feel like it's not true capitalism. Some feel like it's socio-capitalism. It all depends, because there are some socio-economic reforms included in that capitalist economic reforms. It all depends. So let's just talk about the reality of living on minimum wage in America. Today, the federal minimum wage stands at $7.25 per hour. Now, different states, it varies. Different cities, it varies as well. And currently, there is a conversation going on increasing the minimum wage from $7.25 to $15, which has been a battle today in the Congress House, both Senate and the House of the Congress. It's been a battle back and forth. Democrats this, Republicans this. It all depends. It all depends. Okay, because when you look at it this way, for someone who is living on minimum wage 2 years ago cannot continue living on minimum wage today because of what? Inflation. The price of commodity increasing, right? The value of savings and money depreciating or decreasing. It all depends. So now, in order to live above the poverty line as defined by the United States, government agencies that are, whose tax and duties for monitoring the economic growth and all of that. I say you have to earn more than $1,500 per month. Some say $1,320 per month. Some say $1,500 per month, while some says $3,000 per month. It all depends on the area you're living. For someone living in Alabama, the requirement is different. For someone living in Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia, the requirement is different. Even in Maryland, for someone living in Baltimore, the requirement is different. For someone living in, let's say, Salisbury, the requirement is different from someone living in Silver Spring. It all matters. It all depends on the county, city you are living in. So, but for those living on minimum wage, who are often adults working full-time, this is not as easy as it seems, okay? Now, in fact, according to an article from The Atlantic, it's impossible to afford rent and food on minimum wage alone in America. Because if you look at it this way, you live in an apartment, unless you buy in a house whereby you have a locked-in mortgage every month. If you're living in an apartment, your rent increases at least minimum of $50 every year, but your wages increases 10 cents, 5 cents, 20 cents, and thereabout, which is not really encouraging for a society that prides itself at being first world country. Okay, now for you to survive in America, you need to have a side hustle or a gig or a second part-time job, okay, to survive. Or you have a side business, okay, that you can be doing. But mind you, you have to make your own inquiry. Well, it's not easy to survive, to live off of minimum wage in America, because the cost of living is high. Unless you want to go live in some countryside out of greed. But if you want to live in the metropolis areas, it's high. But I think it's best we all come together and think for ourselves on what we should do. Thank you. I'm going to stop here. Just do your own due diligence. Remember, I'm just a random guy on YouTube. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you once again.